of caution to clean down the items. Unfortunately, some people may be infected that are at the grocery store, and some people may be touching things and then put them back.
In the soapy water?
Sandy Samra of Fremont is not taking any chances after a Costco run that she is washing and rinsing everything down.
And then why aren't you using more of the wipes?
Wipes are expensive.
Finally, don't forget to disinfect the table and your trunk. Kit Doe, CBSN Bay Area.
Straight ahead, antibody testing. Why the key to a coronavirus treatment may be in the blood of recovered patients. You're watching CBSN.
You can watch CBSN Bay Area 24/7. It's easy to find us and it's free. One way to watch us is on our website. Go to kpix.com and you'll be instantly connected to CBSN Bay Area. You can also watch by downloading the free CBS News app. At the bottom of the screen is a live button. And here we are, CBSN Bay Area. We're also available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Roku, and Xbox One. Join us.
It's times like this that make you wonder, are we strong enough? Then something changes. We adapt, sacrifice, and remember how important it is to look out for each other.
Next on KPIX5, how an act of kindness is saving lives.
Turns out, it's times like this that show you exactly who we are. Better together. Every day, we're inspired to see how the Bay Area is rising to the challenge.
Just a token of our appreciation.
Sometimes when you're at your lowest in life, you come up with some of the greatest ideas.
So we're telling your stories, sharing resources, and connecting those in need with those who can lend a helping hand.
I thought it was just fabulous to be able to really help out in times of need.
Because we're always better together. Learn more at kpix.com/together. It's a sky-high view like no other, and now it's your perspective. Morning to night. From the tallest building in the West, the Salesforce Tower cams, only on KPIX 5 News. Expect more.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Marie Medina. Here's another look at some of today's top stories. Senator Bernie Sanders just ended his run for the White House. Sanders said he understands some wanted him to stay in the race all the way to the convention, but he feels that would be the wrong strategy during the coronavirus crisis. He will, however, remain on the ballot in the remaining primary states and continue to amass delegates before the convention. A break for small businesses and their employees. The Federal Reserve announced it's easing restrictions on Wells Fargo after its consumer abuse scandal. The bank will now be allowed to expand the number of loans it can offer. Wells Fargo says thousands of customers are already interested in the new program. The State Department is working to bring Americans home during this pandemic. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says his agency has already brought home about 50,000 Americans from 75 countries. They were stranded abroad as countries shuttered their borders. Pompeo called the effort one of the most remarkable diplomatic missions in American history. There are now more than 1.5 million confirmed cases of the coronavirus worldwide, with over 88,000 deaths. More than 300,000 people across the globe have recovered. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is improving after his third day in the ICU, sick with COVID-19. His team says Johnson has been sitting up in bed and engaging with his doctors.
Although he was admitted to hospital and he had some oxygen when he was admitted, he has not needed mechanical ventilation. I understand he is in a comfortable and stable condition and he's in good spirit.
Johnson is the first world leader reported to get coronavirus. Meanwhile, the UK saw its deadliest day from the virus on Wednesday with over 900 deaths. In Mexico, an aircraft from China carrying personal protective equipment landed in Mexico City on Tuesday night. The supplies include gloves, N95 masks, gowns, and eye goggles. They are desperately needed in the country where total cases passed the 3,000 mark on Wednesday alone. And the Netherlands is ramping up its COVID-19 testing with drive-in locations for healthcare personnel. One location is at an ice rink, a place where health officials say is a suitable location to test people safely and efficiently. Last week, the Dutch government announced it was ramping up its testing capacity from 4,000 to over 17,000 tests a day. In order to keep up efforts to slow down the spread of the coronavirus, authorities in Paris have banned daytime jogging just in time for the warm spring weather. However, many Parisians were still taking the opportunity to exercise in the evening when it's permitted. So far, France has had over 10,000 deaths from the virus. The U.S. market rebound continued on Wednesday. The Dow jumped nearly 780 points. The S&P and Nasdaq also posted gains, as investors are hopeful that some cities might be turning the corner on the coronavirus. But the economic pain is widespread, and there is mounting evidence the global recession is already here. That's according to the Bloomberg Economic Data Tracker. Its March report saw the global economy shrink at a yearly rate of 0.5% as factories close, airlines cut flights, and other industries slash a slew of jobs. The CDC announced new steps to make it easier for some people who have been exposed to coronavirus to return to work. CBSN's Ouija Zhang on the plan to get essential workers back on the job.
The CDC's new guidelines are aimed at getting critical infrastructure workers back on the job.
We're getting much closer to getting our country back to the way it was.
Even after potential exposure to COVID-19, people will be able to go back to work as long as they don't have any symptoms and continue to check their temperatures, wear masks, and practice social distancing. Before, they were advised to self-quarantine for 14 days. CBS News has learned the new recommendations apply to several groups, including first responders, food workers, critical manufacturing, and transportation employees. The new recommendations are being drafted as members of the Coronavirus Task Force urge caution against relaxing rules for the general public.
You can start to see it making a difference, but we have to do even more right now because that will predict where we are 2 or 3 weeks from now.
Today, President Trump tweeted the country would open up sooner rather than later, and our economy will boom, perhaps like never before, echoing what he has said in recent days.
We have to open our country up. We have to get going. We have to open our country up. No country was designed for this. Will you close it?
Mr. Trump often talks about reopening the economy as if there's an on-off switch, but it will be up to the states and local governments to make those decisions. Even though health officials say there is promise because social distancing seems to have an impact on bringing the number of cases down, they stress the next few weeks are critical and say everyone must continue their efforts to mitigate. Ouija Zhang, CBS News, the White House.
The coronavirus is now taking the lives of some frontline workers at retail and grocery stores. At least 5 employees died so far, including 2 at the same Chicago area Walmart. Walmart now faces a wrongful death lawsuit from the family of one of the workers. CBSN's Adriana Diaz spoke to the sister of the other worker who died.
Everybody at Walmart loved him, and he loved them.
When Angela McMiller called to check on her brother, Philip Thomas, at the hospital, a nurse came to the phone instead.
He said, well, we did everything we could. And I said, wait a minute, are you telling me my brother passed away?
48-year-old Thomas, who'd worked for Walmart for 9 years, died 2 days after calling an ambulance for himself after struggling to stand up.
Do you know if your brother was wearing a mask and gloves at work?
I don't think they were wearing, none of them were wearing bad masks and gloves.
For employees trying to keep up with customer demands, there's no break. Tuesday, grocery store workers in Boston demanded masks and gloves, fully paid sick leave, and hazard pay. Some stores have installed floor markers and plexiglass, including Walmart. The company is also now limiting customers in stores, providing masks and gloves for employees who want them, and taking their temperatures upon arrival.
These measures should have been taken from day one.
But that's not stopping attorney Tony Kalogerakis from suing Walmart on behalf of Wando Evans, who worked at the same store as Philip Thomas and died from the virus the same week. The wrongful death suit claims the store failed to notify employees that others had symptoms of the virus.
I am concerned because I'm a Walmart consumer. I love Walmart. So to think that I have to risk my life when I walk through the door, it's scary.
Walmart responded to the wrongful death suit, saying it's taking the issue seriously and will respond in court once it receives the complaint. Now, it's not known if the employees contracted the virus while working here at this store, but of course any essential employees faced increased exposure just by leaving their homes and being around others. Adriana Diaz, CBS News, Evergreen Park, Illinois.
In the race for a cure, U.S. researchers are now starting a second trial for a coronavirus vaccine. This one uses a skin-deep shot, not as deep as the other one. The second trial involves 40 healthy volunteers in Kansas City and the University of Pennsylvania.
The production of this vaccine is going to be one that I think can be made in volume a lot more easily than some of the vaccines we've dealt with in the past.
Dozens of potential vaccines are being designed in labs around the world. Under the best timeline, a vaccine would be widely available sometime in the next year to year and a half. A Minnesota hospital is beginning a new kind of testing that could hopefully lead to a treatment for COVID-19. The Mayo Clinic in Rochester started analyzing the plasma of some recovered patients this week. CBSN's Kate Raditz on why researchers are optimistic.
And we really just recently started collecting plasma.
Dr. Elitza Thiel specializes in clinical microbiology at the Mayo Clinic. She's been involved in collecting blood plasma from patients who were confirmed to have COVID-19 and recovered.
We will first test it by these new antibody tests to make sure that donor has developed an immune response and has made antibodies to COVID-19.
The convalescent plasma program would ideally lead to transfusing those antibodies from a recovered patient into someone who's sick. The concept has been used before.
Most notably, you'll hear a reference of it being used during the 1918 pandemic flu.
Studying the plasma for antibodies requires a serology test. That test can also detect if someone was exposed to COVID-19 in the past without knowing it, but it would have limitations, including that it cannot pinpoint when a person was infected.
Even though we detect antibodies in these patients, we don't know if they are necessarily protective and for how long they.
Dr. Thiel says it's likely the demand for the serology test will be high, but current resources will require clinicians to prioritize who should be tested.
There's some evidence that has come out of China where they use convalescent plasma as treatment that suggests it works well. So we really do have high hopes that it will be successful here as well.
Kate Raditz, WCCO 4 News.
Dr. Thiel says some places already started clinical trials of antibody treatment on patients with COVID-19. The Mayo Clinic is hoping to start in just a couple of weeks. Now let's get another check on your weather forecast with our chief meteorologist, Paul Hagan.
A significant severe weather threat that developed Wednesday afternoon is going to dive through the Ohio and Tennessee river valleys as we head into the pre-dawn hours of Thursday. And we're talking about a different part of the country that's going to see a significant severe weather threat developing during the afternoon on Thursday. Let's take a look at where that threat is through the pre-dawn hours of Thursday morning. We're talking about an enhanced risk of severe weather, which is level 3 out of 5, that really for the overnight hours is going to extend into Kentucky and Tennessee. We're talking about a significant wind threat. You'll see that on the radar simulation in just a second, with a line of thunderstorms rapidly moving to the south, but also the possibility of very large hail and the possibility of tornadoes spinning up. It is that time of year here in early April. We're in peak severe weather season. Slight risk of severe weather extends farther southward. The storm should gradually weaken before the sun comes up on Thursday morning as they move southward into Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. But that slight risk of severe weather does include central North Carolina as well. Let's switch over to that future radar. And here's what it's expected to look like as we head into the wee hours of Thursday morning. That line of thunderstorms, and you see a line of storms like that, it usually indicates a significant wind threat. Could get some 70 to 80 mile an hour gusts out of this. The storms do hold together as they roll through Raleigh, and then they're going to weaken as they move out towards the East Coast. The greater severe weather threat later in the day is going to develop over Texas, especially South Texas, with thunderstorms blowing up during the afternoon and marching quickly off to the east as we head into Thursday evening. But we're going to have to watch for those same threats. Significant wind and hail threat along with the possibility of isolated tornadoes. It's a smaller area. It's enhanced risk of severe weather with a slight risk surrounding it kind of on the borderline for Austin, but Corpus Christi and Houston, both in that slight risk, and Houston awfully close to that enhanced risk of severe weather. Definitely a day to stay weather aware, especially in the afternoon and evening hours around Houston. Temperatures quite a bit cooler behind that storm system. Dallas, record high temperatures in the 90s today, but down to the 70s tomorrow. Only low 40s for high temperatures in the Twin Cities. That's cool even for Minnesota in early April.
Coming up next, coronavirus outbreaks at nursing homes, how people are jumping into action to protect the most vulnerable. You're watching CBSN.
Have something to share? We want to see it. Hashtag KPIX. Got a great photo or video? We may use your post on air or online. Hashtag KPIX.
Every day, we're inspired to see how the Bay Area is rising to the challenge.
Just a token of our appreciation.
Sometimes when you're at your lowest in life, you come up with some of the greatest ideas.
So we're telling your stories, sharing resources, and connecting those in need with those who can lend a helping hand.
I thought it was just fabulous to be able to really help out in times of need.
Because we're always better together. Learn more at kpix.com/together.